U.S. President Donald Trump has held talks with German Chancellor Angela Merkel on the sidelines of a NATO summit in Brussels, hours after he fiercely criticized German policy on defense spending and gas imports from Russia. The tone of their remarks when they jointly addressed reporters afterwards appeared businesslike, after Mr. Trump had said Germany's reliance on Russian energy left it in the control of Moscow. Mrs. Merkel responded, saying that Germany makes independent decisions, and referred to her youth in Soviet-run East Germany to insist Berlin was now fully sovereign. "We're having a great meeting. We're discussing military expenditure, talking about trade," President Trump told reporters who were allowed into the meeting room. "We have a very, very good relationship with the Chancellor. We have a tremendous relationship with Germany," he added, saying he had raised his concerns about a new gas pipeline planned from Russia to Germany. Mrs. Merkel said she had discussed migration and trade with President Trump and looked forward to further exchanges as the United States remained a partner of Germany. Earlier, at the start of the NATO summit, President Trump said that Germany's inappropriate gas deal with Moscow made it a captive of Russia. He appeared to catch NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg unaware as he abandoned the polite formality of a breakfast meeting and lashed out at Berlin and other allies for failing to pay their way. "Germany is captive of Russia because it is getting so much of its energy from Russia," Mr. Trump said. "They pay billions of dollars to Russia and we have to defend them against Russia," German Defense Minister Ursula von der Leyen dismissed the president's claim. "We have a lot of issues with Russia without any doubt," she told a side event at the summit. "On the other hand, you should keep the communication line between countries or alliances and opponents without any question," she said when asked about Mr. Trump's accusation. NATO members disagree on many issues, including a new Russian gas pipeline to Germany, but the alliance is stronger together and will deliver on boosting defense spending, Mr. Stoltenberg said. Mr. Stoltenberg said it was not up to NATO to decide on the pipeline and that it was a national decision. He also said while Mr. Trump had very direct language on defense spending, the allies all agreed on burden sharing, and 2017 saw the biggest increase in defense spending in a generation. "Despite disagreements, I expect that we will agree on the fundamentals that we are stronger together than apart," President Trump said. His efforts had pushed other NATO countries to contribute more to the Western Defense Alliance, but it was still not enough to offset the burden on U.S. taxpayers. Over the last year, about $40 billion more has been given by other countries to help NATO, but that's not nearly enough, Mr. Trump told reporters ahead of the summit. "The United States is spending far too much and other countries are not paying enough, especially some. This has been going on for decades and it is disproportionate and not fair to the taxpayers of the United States, and we are going to make it fair. I want to compliment the Secretary General. He's worked very hard on this problem." At Real, Donald Trump launches stinging attack on Germany at start of NATO summit, says inappropriate gas deal with Moscow made it a captive of Russia. pic.twitter.com/DXDLMCFFDP, RTE News, News, July 11, 2018. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Paul Ryan, has said that while NATO is indispensable, Mr. Trump was right to point out that U.S. allies need to stick to their commitment to increase defense spending. Mr. Trump was barely in Belgian airspace when he issued yet another combative tweet, attacking the European Union. "The European Union makes it impossible for our farmers and workers and companies to do business in Europe. U.S. has a $151 billion trade deficit, and then they want us to happily defend them through NATO, and nicely pay for it. Just doesn't work." Donald J. Trump, at Real Donald Trump, July 10, 2018. Earlier, European Council President Donald Tusk had asked Mr. Trump to stop rating NATO allies over military spending. "NATO is indispensable. It's as important today as it ever has been," he told reporters. Speaking in Brussels, Mr. Tusk said, "Dear America, appreciate your allies. After all, you don't have that many. The message doesn't seem to have got through. Appreciate your allies." At UK, President delivers blunt message to at Real Donald Trump on the eve of a NATO summit in Brussels. pic.twitter.com/So81WNKFP, RTE News, News, July 10, 2018. The summit follows an acrimonious G7 meeting in Canada, and comes amid a deepening rift between Europe and the Trump administration over a range of issues, from the Iran nuclear deal, to Mr. Trump's protectionist trade policy, to the Middle East and climate change. The most divisive issue at the NATO summit will be defense spending. Mr. Trump has written to individual European leaders berating them for not spending more on defense. NATO countries have committed to spending 2% of GDP on defense by 2024, but only a handful of countries will reach that target. Some NATO members point out that only 15% of America's defense spending goes on defending Europe, and that the emphasis should be on adapting NATO for new threats, not simply spending more money on defense. But those remarks are likely to fall on deaf ears. Real Donald Trump yesterday arrived in Brussels ahead of what promises to be a divisive two-day summit of NATO leaders. https://t.co/dzdz2lowpic.twitter.com/way8cocked. RT News, News, July 11, 2018. Additional reporting Tony Connolly.